Perhaps the most frequently typed command on the Unix command line is ls, which is short for list. And this lists the files and directories in the current directory. You can see here is a bunch of different files, including these two here, sonnet1.txt and sonnet1 We can use ls to verify the existence of a file. For example, we can do this, show that it exists. If we run this on a file that doesn't exist, say something called foo, which is the standard name for a file whose name you don't care about, you can see that it says no such file or directory. We could create foo by redirecting something, but there's a standard way of creating an empty file with a particular name using the Unix command touch. Like that. So up arrow a couple times, and then you can see that it exists. By the way, we can run man touch to see what touch is really supposed to be used for. You can see that touch is used to change file access and modification times. It's not important to understand right now why you would want to touch a file, but this usage here, where you touch a file that doesn't exist just to create an empty file with that name, is a very common Unix idiom. Something else you can do with ls is use a wildcard character like this. ls*.txt, for example. This will list all the files that end with .txt, and there should be two because we created two in the last section. There are three particularly important optional forms of ls, starting with the long form. And the way we get that is with ls-l for long. So let's run the same thing on star.txt. You can see here this gives more information about the files. You don't have to understand all of this output, but there are a couple of useful things. First of all, there's the size of the file. This is in bytes. And there's also the last modification time. One of my favorite commands combines the long form with a reverse time listing. So that's ls-reverse time and then long form. So we can do the same thing here. star.txt. What this does is shows us the files in order of when they were last modified, with the most recently modified at the bottom. This is particularly useful just to use it for all the files like this. You can see here that we've got sonnet1, sonnet1 lowercase, and foo. By the way, it's very common to combine these options together like this, but you don't have to. They can actually be typed individually like this. It's the same thing. Incidentally, you might note here that foo is in fact empty. This 0 here indicates that it's of size 0 bytes. You could verify that like this. Yep, it's empty. There's one more thing I'd like to tell you about, which is a Unix convention for hidden files. A hidden file in Unix starts with a dot character, or a period. So for example, here I'm going to ls.getignore. This is a particular file that's important for the Git version control system. It doesn't currently exist, but we can create it using echo. Let's take a look at it. So you can see that that echo worked, but if we run ls, you'll notice that it doesn't exist here. There's no .getignore listed anywhere here. This brings us to the third of the three common optional forms, ls-a. So the first two are ls-l for long and ls-rtl for reverse time long. This is ls-a for all. You can see here that in fact includes a bunch of hidden files. I have a lot of hidden files here, but you can see in particular that .getignore is here.